how much is the Adventure for?
KTM Adventure S is 370X, so 20K more than this bike. And the X is 291. So from the base model, that's 50K.
Because I'm just thinking that, to me, it always seems like Royal Enfield is, I mean, the bikes are kilo ke bhav se, which is why they're so heavy and which is why they can price them well. But I think they still have a lot of latitude left to do within the price that they're selling the bikes at.
I think what I took away from the conversation with Royal Enfield this time was that we've got them pegged too high on the R&D ladder.
And that's exactly it. Because if that bike for 20,000 bucks more is giving you that kind of suspension, right? What is to stop you from giving you a more sophisticated suspension at the rear for this and solve it on all the bikes?
Yeah. So I was thinking about it. So one of the things that has happened to me since we are doing motoring first, this is our 50-something episode in total, is that I always have these moments where I'm saying, what do I say to Kartik about this thing? And I keep thinking about it. So I was in the taxi going from the hotel back to the airport, which is like a 3-hour run from Kunur to Kumto to Kovai. And I was wondering, how do I explain the R&D situation? And the closest explanation I came to is that because many of Royal Enfield products present so well and because they feel so good to ride, we also think that their R&D is that kind of effective. And it is that kind of advanced and effortless, etc., etc. But the more I think about it, the more I think that's what we've got wrong. This is a relatively new team working in a very constrained environment because their legacy awareness causes lots of issues for them. Right? For example, they will say, oh no, we cannot have plastic switchgear on this bike. It's a classic. But the plastic switchgear exists. Okay.
Wait, one sec. You're saying the switchgear is actually metal?
That's what they said, yeah. Because the ones on the Super Meteor are brushed metal and these are now chromed.
Okay.
Right? So they will do things like this where they paint themselves into these little corners and there's no external pressure to paint yourself into this corner if you think about it. Right? For example, there was this 15-minute discussion on the triple clamp and how complicated it was to make the triple clamp, and it wasn't good enough to have it painted or stickered or embossed. It had to be machine embossed and finished like that, and inside those grooves machining it. Yeah, okay, I get it, right? You're building a story. But in the effort to output ratio, did you get the effort to output ratio right? I'm not convinced. And if you think about it, TVS, Bajaj and Hero, who come at this from the other side, where they have mass awareness, volume awareness, and then they're making premium products, some things that they get right is that their effort to output ratio calculations are more accurate. So they put in effort where it's required and you see an output. So arguably the Pulsar N125, it has a superior suspension experience to the Classic 650. But that bike is what, a lakh of rupees, a lakh 20 or something.
Yeah.
And this is at 3.5 lakh rupees, you can't even come close.
So what you're actually saying is that they have pockets of excellence, and one of those is the design aspect of it, let's say, and coming up with...
And yes, you're right. And I'm saying we are expecting more pockets of excellence that currently exist, and they will mature and refine into those excellence
but
pockets.
they're not there yet.
But they're not there yet.
And I think the telltale signs now should be staring at us in the face, the weight aspect of it. Because, I mean, you need to have better materials if you want to save weight. Maybe they don't have that experience. Right? And the other is the suspension angle, which is, we've always said suspension is one of the toughest things to do. And if we keep the Classic 350 out of it,
and the Himalayan,
out of it,
the rest of the range,
the rest of it shows them very poorly.
Yes, 100%.
This makes sense.
Yeah. So we say Bajaj quality can be an issue, but Bajaj quality has consistently improved. But because they're making such a huge variety of products for such a huge number of brands, their exposure to how to fine-tune quality, how to present a different user experience, etc., is a very, very evolved format of it. And Bajaj has God knows how many platforms in production right now. It's hard to keep track. And if you look at Royal Enfield, 3 engines, 4 frames, that's the entire product range. If I were to take Bajaj and say, can you make products with just 3 engines and 4 frames? That would be, I don't know, 25% of what they make today. Right? If you look, if you look at Hero, commuters and scooters and larger machines, and they're working on an off-road bike and road machines, their exposure also is larger. TVS, same thing. So if you look at how these 3 manufacturers, I'm taking these 4 Indian examples because they're closest to each other. All the other brands have more exposure to more ways of doing these things than Royal Enfield does. And therefore, when I was reaching the airport, I said the best way I can put it to Karthik is that this is a very old company. It's very well established. It's very well set in its ways. But when it comes to R&D, it's actually a new company that is still finding its feet. And therefore, there are hiccups.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right? If you look at Bajaj, Hero and TVS, again, R&D setups are old. People have been there for a long time and people are working in a rhythm and flow. Royal Enfield created the brand new UK Technical Center. Then they hired people from all over the earth. Then a whole bunch of people from Triumph, etc. It's still a setup that is finding its feet and coming together. For that kind of newness to be able to produce products like this, I think actually it is pretty admirable. But for them to be flawless, effortless products, more refinement, more time, more flow, more smoothness, and more perspective has to happen.
I think there's some kind of course correction is definitely required, because I think the weight angle of it, as much as we say that, yeah, we don't feel it, and you don't for the most part.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, that is not okay, I think, anymore. Because when you're talking about a bike getting 240, 250 kilos
Yeah.
for a
There's
650.
two ways to manage weight. One is not to have it, and the other is to hide it well.
Yeah.
Royal Enfield has learned how to hide it really well in most places. Now I think the next step is to learn not to have it in the first place.
And when we look at this competition, and again, I'm coming back to the 390 Adventure, which is a impressive bike in terms of what it's managing to do, plus in terms of what materials and equipment and hardware it's using, and still managing that price point.
Correct.
Right? So why can't, in that sense, then why can't RE do it?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no electronics apart from ABS on this bike either. Should we not have 50 bhp bikes have traction control? Basic traction control at least?
Especially when they're so heavy also, because that, in that scenario, I'm thinking going in a corner, sand, oil, something, I wouldn't mind a helping hand there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Scary.
Yeah, it is. No, I am not disputing it at all. I think the Himalayan should have had cruise control. I think it definitely needed traction control. If I'm expected to be out on the highway by myself traveling, I would like backup. I would like backup.
All right.
Right? I would like to be able to lift my bike by myself.
Hopefully not get there. Anyways, cool. Hello. If you enjoyed this clip, which means you're into good conversations, and that's what we're all about. It's really hard packing in the essence of an idea into a 60-second clip. This 3-minute, 5-minute video would have given you a sense of that, and you can enjoy this entire conversation in its full glory on the MotorInc channel. So why don't you head out over there and subscribe to that, and you could subscribe to this channel as well if you enjoyed it.